All right, Chris Mannix here, along with Sergio Mora, two members of the Dazn broadcast team. Unfortunately, right now, there are no fights to actually broadcast, but there is stuff for us to be talking about. So, Sergio, why don't you and I jump into a couple of things, shall we?
I would love to. In my pajamas, even better.
I'm in my living room as well. So this is kind of the way it is for the foreseeable future. But there has been some boxing news out there. So let's throw some jabs here real quick. Though nothing is official, Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin are trending towards a deal for a third fight that'll pair two of the biggest stars in boxing in the ring together. These two, Sergio, fought last back in September of 2018. Canelo won a very close decision. A year before that, there was a hotly contested draw. Most people thought Golovkin won that fight. So in a lot of ways, this would be the rubber match between those two fighters. Now, Canelo is 29 years old. Golovkin is going to be 38 years old next month. Do you still look at Canelo Golovkin as a competitive fight?
It's the age that concerns me about Golovkin. It's the fact that they haven't fought each other in 2 years, but the fact that they know each other so well, that will still make it exciting. And they don't like each other. You know, this whole tit for tat going back and forth. Golovkin easily could have won the first two fights. Trilogy, let's make it happen again. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I understand the people that don't think Golovkin is able to be competitive in a fight like this. Since they fought in 2018, Canelo has 3 wins, and all of them were impressive. He knocked out Rocky Fielding, he outpointed Daniel Jacobs, and he knocked out Sergey Kovalev. So Canelo, it seems like he continues to improve, whereas Golovkin, in his 2 fights, he has looked like a diminished version of his former self. He did knock out Steve Rolls in his first fight since the Canelo fight, but he did struggle in that second round where he took some big shots from a guy that maybe he shouldn't be taking big shots from. Fast forward to the next fight against Derevyanchenko, he very easily could have lost that fight, and that was a knockdown, drag-out war amongst those two guys. So there is a school of thought that says that Golovkin is diminished. On the other hand, Sergio, you can say that against Rolls, maybe Golovkin didn't take it as seriously. It was fought at a catch weight, so that's part of it. Against Derevyanchenko, I had been told that Golovkin was sick in the week leading up to that, so maybe that was a factor. I have a sneaking suspicion that this fight is going to be more competitive than a lot of people are thinking about.
I think the third fight will end in a knockout. They know each other too well. And normally the trilogies do not end in knockout. I mean, Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield, I believe that one ended in a stoppage. But usually they don't because they know each other so well. But these guys are so good at what they do, and their technique and their power is on point. And I just think they had enough time to get the knockouts in between with Steve Rolls and Rocky Fielding to get that excitement back. And Kovalev with Canelo getting that knockout of the year candidate type. So I think this one ends in a knockout. They know each other too well. And familiarity brings knockouts.
Yeah, I think you're right about the bad blood, too. Canelo is coming into this fight, I think, with a lot of anger and resentment behind him. All right, let's move on to another topic, and that's Ryan Garcia. Now, in one of our last fights that we did, Sergio, before this hiatus, Ryan Garcia, he knocked out Francisco Fonseca in the first round. It was the second consecutive first-round knockout for Ryan Garcia and really propelled him into a higher level amongst boxing fans. Now, there's a lot of talk about Garcia facing Jorge Linares this summer. That's a terrific fight, but a bigger fight might be Garcia versus Gervonta Davis. There's been a back and forth between Garcia and Davis. Both of them have had some criticisms of the other. The question I have for you, Sergio, is Ryan Garcia, at this point in his career, ready for a 2-division world champion like Gervonta Davis?
2 fights ago, I would have said, no, Ryan Garcia is not ready for a champion, a monster puncher like Gervonta Davis, who has everything pretty much going for him except the height. So now you have 2 first-round consecutive knockouts by Ryan Garcia. The way he's ending these fights is so impressive. They're supposed to be the hardest fights of his career, and he ends them like that. That's just unusual. He's getting more confident. He's staying busy and active, and he's believing in his power. He's believing in his team with Eddie Reynoso, the fact that he's training with the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. All that, that's a perfect storm of avoiding a fighter like Ryan Garcia, who has the momentum going for him. Gervonta Davis, on the other hand, yes, he's looked sensational in his knockouts. He's proven to be a ticket seller in his hometown. Would it be a great fight? Absolutely. But I would see Ryan Garcia giving him trouble with the height alone. I mean, Ryan Garcia is, I believe, 5'10 and a half, almost 5'11. And then you compare that with Tank, who's 5 inches shorter. So add that, the height, the reach. I mean, this kid's the goods, man, and he's riding that momentum. So it'll be a great fight. I would love to see it. 2 fights ago, I would have said Tank Davis has the upper edge. Avoid him. Not anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Ryan Garcia is more than ready for Gervonta Davis at that point, in large part because I don't know what Gervonta Davis is really. I mean, he has been a very good fighter at 130 pounds. At 135 pounds, he had trouble finishing off Yuri Gamboa, and Gamboa fought the vast majority of that fight with a torn Achilles. So he has shown really nothing to me at this point that shows he's an elite fighter at 135 pounds. Garcia is going to have the physical advantages. He's going to be able to box from the outside. And look, I think Davis is a great story. He's extremely popular, like you said, but do we know yet if Gervonta Davis is the goods? Garcia may be less experienced, but I don't see any reason to believe why he's an inferior fighter at this point.
Anytime you have a young fighter that has all the goods, the speed, the power, the looks, the charm, and you're staying active, I mean, it's just you're checking off every box as a prospect, as a top contender, and a future champion. Gervonta Davis, it seems like he's regressing a little bit in his personal life. And right now, it's the temperament behind Davis that he needs to work on. It's not his skill or power, because he definitely has that. I mean, he's one of the best in the world, and he's an attraction. It's just someone needs to get him and say, hey, man, listen, you need to take this serious for the next 5 years, make the most money possible, enough with the bullshit pretty much, because this kid could be a pound for pound great star if he gets his stuff together.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Garcia, to your point, does take care of himself in between fights, keeps himself in really good shape in between fights. I'd still like to see Ryan Garcia face Linares first, but if he gets through Linares and looks good doing it, there's no reason that they should shy away from a fight against Gervonta Davis. All right, Sergio, we talk about potential fights, but let's talk about when we might see boxing back once again. When boxing is able to return, it's possible that the only option they'll have is to take fights behind closed doors, to do it without crowds, to meet CDC guidelines on how many people can gather in a particular place. So you're a fighter. Should boxing go behind closed doors?
Oh, you mentioned it. You got to follow the guideline and the rules of the CDC. But as long as it's televised, as long as it's or streamed, as long as it's televised or streamed, and people could see it around the world, as long as the fighters know that people are watching, they're going to perform at their best. Because I had a similar situation like that when I was on the reality show, The Contender. I only had about 100, 150 people watching me, but I knew that it was on network television, and I knew I was fighting a really good fighter opposing me. So it doesn't matter. Yes, I think we're going to have to evolve as boxing fans, as people in the business, and just really have to come to terms that this is a serious ordeal that we're dealing with. And if we want to be entertained right now, I mean, it's hard to do when you're quarantined, but if you want to be entertained with sports, this is a way to go. You got to have to scale down. It's like when you're coming up fighting in ballrooms and these shows where you only have 30, 40 people watching, most of them your family members. You know, there's this hunger. So you go back in the day to those hungry days, and you're still getting paid really good money. So it's good money, hungry days. People get to watch it all over the world. It's going to be, it's going to be something good, not only for the fighters, but the boxing fans.
Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity for boxing to put on events before other sports are able to put on events, just because logistically they're going to be able to do it first, I think. And as we've seen, the question is going to be, will fighters take a little bit less money or a lot less money to get into the ring? I think that, Sergio, is going to be a big decision that fighters are going to have to face. They're going to have to decide, do I want the immediate money if it's a little bit less? Or do I want to just take the risk and wait for this thing and hope it ends sooner rather than later?
Listen, I've been the A side, B side, C, all the way to D minus. The A side's not going to fight for anything less that they're accustomed to. They're not going to want to scale down the crowd, the event, the fight week press, everything that comes with being the A side. They're not going to want to give that up. But the B side and the C and everything down, absolutely. You pay them, they'll scale down. And as a boxing fan, as people in the business, we just want to see fights. It doesn't have to be the A side. Give us a B plus, and we're in. We're watching.
At this point, we have no idea when this crisis ends, and fighters might have to accept to move their careers along and to make a little bit of money. They have to fight behind those closed doors. Sergio, good luck behind your closed doors. Apologize to your wife for me on behalf of you that she has to be stuck in this house with you for as long as she is.
I wasn't ready for that jab, so you got me on that one.